There are some things in the automotive world that are simply accepted as gospel. Ferraris are fast. Pickup trucks are not. One belongs on a racetrack, the other belongs in a hardware store parking lot. And in 1991, nobody on Earth would have argued with that. Nobody had a reason to. That was about to change. This is a story about a truck. A small, black, completely ordinary-looking GMC pickup truck showed up at a drag strip in the fall of 1991 and did something that still gets argued about in comment sections today. But before we get to what happened, you need to understand exactly how far apart these two worlds were. The farther apart they are, the more satisfying the story gets. And if you're new here, this is what we do at the Car Archives. We find the stories that got buried and bring them back. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Now back to the truck. Ferrari unveiled the 348 in 1989 as the replacement for the beloved 328. It was a proper Italian supercar. A 3.4-liter all-aluminum V8, a 5-speed gated manual, and a body styled in Maranello that made people stop walking when it passed. In the United States in 1991, a new 348 TS would cost you $122,000. Not a typo. $122,000. For that money, you were not just buying a fast car, you were buying a bloodline. You were buying decades of Formula One history, Le Mans victories, and the kind of brand equity that made grown men act strange in parking lots. Ferrari owners did not compare their cars to other cars. They compared them to other Ferraris. Meanwhile, in the world of American trucks, the GMC S15 Sonoma was doing exactly what it was designed to do. Absolutely nothing interesting. It was a compact pickup built for people who needed a compact pickup, reliable, practical, invisible. The kind of vehicle that disappears into traffic and stays there. Nobody wrote magazine features about it. Nobody argued about it at car shows. It was transportation. That was the whole point. These two vehicles existed in completely separate universes. One was a hand-built Italian exotic that cost as much as a house in some parts of the country. The other was a truck. And then someone at General Motors had an idea. The story of what would become Syclone does not start at a boardroom in Detroit. It starts in the late 1980s with a GMC engineer named Kim Nielsen, who happened to be a drag racer and who thought there was no reason a compact pickup could not be genuinely, embarrassingly fast. Nielsen proposed the project. General Motors approved it, and rather than build it in-house, they handed it to an outside company called Production Automotive Services, PAS, operating out of Troy, Michigan. A small, specialized shop, the same outfit that had already built the 1989 Pontiac Turbo Trans Am. Not a household name, not a big corporate division. A tight group of people who knew exactly what they were doing and who were about to prove it. PAS took standard GMC Sonoma pickups off the factory floor and rebuilt them into something else entirely. The stock 4.3-liter V6 was gutted and rebuilt from the inside out, with new pistons, a new intake, new exhaust manifolds, and a lower compression ratio to handle the boost that was coming. Then they bolted on a Mitsubishi TD06 turbocharger and a Garrett water-to-air liquid intercooler. The result was 280 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers do not sound wild today, but in 1991, a base Corvette made 245 horsepower. The truck had it beaten before you even got to the rest of it. But power alone was not the weapon. The weapon was how it got to the ground. PAS fitted the Syclone with a Borg-Warner all-wheel drive system that split torque 35% to the front wheels and 65% to the rear. The suspension was lowered and stiffened. The truck sat on two 4550 R16 tires, wider than anything the standard Sonoma ever wore. It also became the first production truck in history to receive four-wheel anti-lock brakes. From a standing start, all of that engineering combined into something that nobody who had not driven one would have believed was possible. The Syclone was available in one color, black. No options for anything else. You wanted a Syclone, you got a black Syclone. The price was $25,500, less than a quarter of what that Ferrari cost. Production was limited to 2,995 units for the 1991 model year, and then Car and Driver magazine got hold of one. The September 1991 issue of Car and Driver is one of the most famous single issues in the magazine's history. The premise was simple. Put the Syclone on a drag strip next to a brand new $122,000 Ferrari 348 TS. Run them. See what happens. The Ferrari hit 60 miles per hour in 5.6 seconds. The Syclone hit 60 miles per hour in 5.3 seconds. The Ferrari ran the quarter mile in 14.5 seconds. The Syclone ran it in 14.1 seconds at 93 miles per hour. The truck beat the Ferrari to 60. The truck beat the Ferrari through the quarter mile, and then, just to make absolutely certain, Car and Driver ran them again, half a mile this time from a standing start. Syclone won again. A pickup truck built on a platform designed to haul mulch beat a $122,000 Ferrari. Twice. In print. With the numbers right there on the page for anyone to check. Now here is where the story gets even better. Car and Driver ran a third race. Half a mile rolling start, no whole shot advantage, no launch control, just two cars at speed and a long piece of road ahead of them. The Ferrari won that one. And it wasn't close. Above 80 miles per hour, the Syclone's flat-sided, boxy truck body started paying aerodynamic penalties that no amount of turbo boost could fix. The Ferrari's top speed was 166 miles per hour. The Syclone hit its electronic limiter at 126 miles per hour, and that was the end of the conversation. But here is what that third race actually tells you about the Syclone. It was not trying to be a Ferrari. It was not built for racetracks or autobahns or top-speed runs. It was built for exactly the kind of racing that happens between strangers at stoplights on two-lane roads, in the specific American tradition of run what you brung. In that game, from 0 to about a quarter mile, there was almost nothing you could buy in 1991 that could beat it. 2 wins out of 3, and the one loss required a rolling start and half a mile of open road. The Syclone knew exactly what it was. It just happened to be better at that specific thing than a Ferrari. The brakes, by the way. The Syclone stopped from 70 miles per hour in 183 feet. The Ferrari needed 187 feet. The truck outbraked the Italian supercar. At this point, Car and Driver was basically writing the truck's resume for it. Now is also a good time to acknowledge what the 348 was. It was not Ferrari's finest moment. Period road tests had noted handling quirks that the factory would go on to address in later production years. It was not the definitive expression of what that platform could ultimately do. In fairness, a fully sorted 348 in better circumstances might have run different numbers. But that fairness changes nothing about what was printed in September of 1991. The numbers were the numbers. The result was the result. And then there was the matter of what this thing actually was as an object. The bed was still there. You could put things in it. Though not many things, the payload rating was 500 pounds. That is a couple of pieces of luggage and a toolbox. PS had built a vehicle so committed to going fast that it had essentially forgotten to be a truck in any meaningful sense. The 500-pound payload is not a criticism. It is the whole point. Every pound of payload capacity that thing did not have went somewhere else. Into the turbo, into the all-wheel drive system, into the suspension calibration. This truck had made its choices, and it was not apologizing for any of them. The Syclone also inspired a sibling. In 1992, GMC and PAS took the same turbocharged all-wheel drive drivetrain and dropped it into the two-door Jimmy Sport utility vehicle, creating the GMC Typhoon. Bigger body, proper backseat, room for 4 adults instead of 2. Same 280 horsepower, same Borg-Warner transfer case, same basic mission. Car and Driver tested the Typhoon against the Ferrari 348 as well. The Typhoon won that race too. So now the Ferrari 348 had lost to a truck and a sport utility vehicle in the pages of the same magazine. The Typhoon ran for 2 model years and produced 4,697 units before PAS lost its contract and the program ended. By 1994, both the Syclone and the Typhoon were gone. quietly, without ceremony, as if it had never happened. 30 years later, the market has settled the argument about what these trucks were worth. Hagerty valued a good-condition Syclone in 2024 at just under $31,000. Low-mileage examples regularly go higher. In 2022, a Syclone with 6,000 miles on it sold on Bring a Trailer for $90,000. Consider what that means for a moment. The truck that cost $25,500 new in 1991 now sells at auction for $90,000. The Ferrari 348 TS that cost $122,000 new in 1991 sells today for around $60,000 to $80,000 depending on condition. The truck that beat the Ferrari is now worth more than the Ferrari it beat. Nobody at PAS planned that, but it feels exactly right. The 348 went on to be replaced by the 355, which was a genuinely great car and restored Ferrari's reputation in the segment. Ferrari recovered just fine. But the September 1991 issue of Car and Driver does not go away. That test is cited every time the 348 comes up. Every review, every auction listing, every forum argument. Because there is a version of automotive history in which a small outside shop in Troy, Michigan took a $25,500 GMC pickup, put it on a drag strip next to a $122,000 Ferrari, and won. And that version of history is the true one. Not a Corvette, not a Camaro, not a purpose-built American muscle car with a V8 and a legacy. A truck with a bed, in one color, that you could walk into a GMC showroom and buy. When you get beaten by something like that, it follows you, and it should. This has been the story of the 1991 GMC Syclone. Thank you all for watching another episode of the Car Archives. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like and share it with someone who needs to know this story. Subscribe with notifications on so you never miss what comes next. Until next time, enthusiasts.